So as you can see, I have a pretty messy back seat right now, and that is because I'm a videographer and that is all my gear. What I'm going to be doing on this show is taking you to different locations, different homes, different studios, different work environments, and we're going to find out what actually goes on in the production of a music record. We're going to be talking today with Nick Starrantino. He is a record producer in Center Reach, New York, which is Long Island, and we're driving out there today to talk to him and to pick his brain and to see what actually goes into producing a record.
Hey, what's up? I'm Nicholas Starrantino. This is my recording space, In-House Recordings. Come check it out. This is my little cave that I record bands. I play a lot of instruments, so if I get a singer-songwriter, I'll play the drums and guitar and bass and keyboards if we need all that. I like to put the drums in the center of the room here, just to try and avoid as many reflections as possible. I don't have much of a room space, but the best I can do to kind of stay away from walls is good. I built some panels out of their pine because it's a little better for reflections and stuff. One day I did a tom overdub down here and it was completely cleared out and I just heard this ugly clapping, chattering thing happen. I was like, well, that's gotta go. You know, a lot of times I'll have maybe, you know, all the band members hanging out while I have like a guitar player or bassist or someone sitting next to me working. I have a good Heritage 1073 mic pre and an 1176 that everything kind of goes through. I'll put drums, I take, you know, my 47 and I put it in front of the drums and I'll just compress it a lot and get my length because there's not much of a room sound down here. So I don't even set up room mics. I just put up that one mic that's gonna give me a lot more resonance. And then everything else along the way goes through that because there'll be guitar through the one pre or maybe sometimes a second, but you know, vocals will go through the 1073 and the 1176. And it's just a nice little setup that definitely gets the job done and gets you through. When I'm recording guitars, I'll put them in here. I'll put a cab. I'll use this extra room as a little bit of an ISO room, and I'll put vocals in there, close the door, and I can blast the speakers out here and usually be pretty okay without too much bleed happening. Gear-wise, I almost never want what everybody has. Except I do have the two most standard mic pre and compressor you can. So it's decided a lot by price and what I can afford. I do a lot of researching on records I like when I'm sitting at night and I'm listening to something, I will look into what room at what studio they recorded and what console that studio had at the time or what gear the producer or the mixer liked to use, just to get a good feeling of all right, if that whole thing was tracked on Neves, chances are I like the sound of Neve preamps. I was in a band and I was a little more focused on how the record we were making sounded than I was worried about playing those songs or writing new songs or doing anything. So when the band broke up, I decided to go all in on recording bands in my house. At first, it's kind of cool to get into mixing, which is post-production. But after a little while, I've realized I really like hanging out with bands, and we kid around and we keep it real fun. And I also try to get an aggressive amount of work done while tricking you into thinking you're just having a good time. That's probably the most social part of my life, is being in a room with a band and working and shaping, doing that part of it. That's kind of all the behind the curtain stuff to make it what it is. I love music. I've had a knack for it my entire life. I used to like writing a lot, but this seems to be a more perfect pocket of technical with why is the song working or why isn't a song working. It's being immersed in music without having to spend 20 hours a day traveling to play a 20-minute show, or just, to me, it just seems the best way to surround myself with music all the time. In the morning, we will lay down scratch tracks. I'll get as many instruments as I can so that the rest of the day I'm hearing the bass part and whatever. We'll record drums. A lot of times there's edits that have to go along, so I will, make sure the drums we have the best versions of every, if someone did a drum fill, I want the best fill that they did out of 5 takes. And then we'll record bass for an hour usually about. Kind of get a good tone, get the right parts, make sure the bass is really tight with drums, and those are a lot of that's where a lot of my time is spent, is just going, hey, he's doing this here, why don't you line up with that? And then we go on to rhythm guitars, which take seemingly forever because you need to get a lot of them as tight with the drums and bass as you got the bass with the drums. And then we'll start having a little more fun and looseness with leads. So I'll lay in lead guitars, or that really weird reverby guitar, or the pedal we wanted to mess with. And then usually by evening, around 5 o'clock, we'll be on to vocals. And we'll just kind of take our time, and if we have to sing a part, come back out here, we'll hang out for a little bit, talk, like whatever. Maybe you'll tell me what the song's about as the day has been going on. And then once I have a whole vocal, I'll go back through and pick the favorite takes or your best little run, or we'll get an edit of the vocals together. And then by the end of the day, we'll do tambourine, claps, group vocals, whatever other glitter and sprinkles and stuff we needed on it. And by 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 a.m., we'll be pretty done. And then I have to mix it after that. The way I build trust with the client in a really quick amount of time, maybe if I don't know them before they come at 10 in the morning, is not rushing into stuff, and a lot of that time killing between takes and asking questions and stopping and turning and, what is this about? There's a lot of personal hangout time that doesn't seem like work, that feeds the comfortable part of it a lot. And trying to encourage people and be a cheerleader way more than a coach, because then if a moment comes up where you have to say, I don't think this is the right thing for the song, they tend to kind of now know that you agree with a lot of the stuff they say, so maybe you're coming from a good place on it. When I'm doing my edits and kind of picking the spots that I think have the best performance, and that solo was awesome, but the next solo wasn't as awesome, and I start editing vocals, but I'm getting, the part where the hair stood up on my arms, and so that kind of starts to feel like a weird painting to me, where I'm choosing parts that are, it's always broad strokes. That's why it's hard, because sometimes you don't do much, and that's the most creative thing you can do for the room.
Out of all the processes that go into creating a record, I think my favorite part is the mixing. I also enjoy the engineering side of it and recording, but I like being able to get into a mix and impart a sound from that aspect of it.